What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Commercial Real Estate Blueprint Podcast. This is just an awesome, super exciting episode for us. We've done about 50 now. This is the 50th one.
50th.
I reached out to Brian Luebben, who's obviously massive. If you guys don't know who he is, he's got an awesome podcast, an awesome community, just a really cool guy, lots of knowledge, and we wanted to interview him. So I reached out in the very beginning of our podcast journey, and I was like, "Hey, would you come on our podcast?" And I respected your answer so much. He said, "Absolutely, but get to 50 first." And I was like, "You probably have so many people ask you, that makes sense."
Yeah.
And, me and Jesse are pretty driven. And I was like, "All right, I'll see you in 50.
Bet.
And so here we are, like about a year later, recording the 50th one.
Mhm.
So it's cool. And I think I reached back out and you're like, "Yeah, I'll do it. Like I said before, but I only do in person."
Mhm.
So then we're like, "All right, let's go. We'll go." And so here we are. So
Yep.
thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Now we're having dinner tonight. And because I was in that position too. So in the very beginning, I talk a lot about this thing called vivid vision, which is where I'm like, okay, screw real estate investing, screw stock market, screw business buying. Like, what do you freaking want? Period. Because what happens is everyone jumps into the how. They never discuss the where. So everyone's pissed off because they're anxious all the time. They don't feel like they're making any progress. They don't feel like they're getting anywhere. Depressed, divorced at times. And you're like, dude, where's this all coming from? It's because you never actually defined where the end destination was. And I remember I read this book, Vivid Vision. And it was by Keyman Harold. And it's where you take out a sheet of paper and you write down like 3-year document, detailed document, as if you're experiencing your dream life today. And like, I wrote all this stuff out where I was like, man, I'm working this corporate job. I wake up, I'm walking out in my balcony in Mykonos, and I can do what I want, when I want, with who I want. And to finish up the story, I messaged him and I go, Cameron, like, dude, I've got this podcast, brand new. You should come on. He goes, nope, too small. I was like, what? He's like, yep, nope. Call me back at episode 100. And I was like, okay. And that lit a freaking fire under me, dude.
Yeah.
And then so I called him back at episode 100.
Yeah.
And then he's like, nope, too small. Call me back at 150. And then at 150, I called him back. Said, nope, too small. Call me back at 200. And at 200, I said, hey, it's like, you don't got a choice anymore. I was like, I'm going to find you.
Yeah.
I'll come out wherever you are. We're doing this podcast episode. We did the podcast episode.
Yeah.
And now we're buddies. So
Heck yeah.
a thing that I found in life is that the person that you want to have time with, if they're worth time, they're going to give you some type of challenge.
Yeah.
And you have to overcome said challenge in order to earn the time. And you guys did.
Yeah.
So I gave you a challenge. Everyone else ignored it. You guys did it. So we're going to go bro out, have a good time, and yeah, make some money.
Yeah, we appreciate that, man. Seriously, and it's cool that you did it the first time too. We didn't have to go like 100 and 200.
Yeah.
Oh no. We've been back and forth in DMs quite a bit.
Yeah,
So,
for
no,
sure.
I respect a good follow up, and you guys are walking the walk and talking the talk, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, one other thing I was going to mention too, your book. Is awesome book.
Yeah,
It's got a good book.
Appreciate it.
From passive to passionate, right?
Mhm.
I read that, and I read that in the middle of kind of all of this last year or so. We had a deal under contract. I sold a little residential house that me and my wife lived in for a year, moved out, rented it, and did a 1031 into a commercial building, seller financing. We were like halfway through that, and it was extremely stressful because we didn't have a tenant. It was empty.
No.
And we were going to be faced with like a $4,500 a month payment, which is like, at the time, it's tough. Wasn't going to float that for how very long.
Yeah.
Plus all my other expenses. So trying to decide, I was like, man, should we close this deal or not? And I was reading your book, and I was like halfway through it, and you were talking about how you think you could replace your income in like 6 months to 24 months, I think is your time frame. And I was like, you know what, screw it. Like, we're doing it. We're going to buy the deal. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And we did. So, your stuff is definitely inspirational, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. What was the switch that was flipped there?
I
Just
think
giving yourself permission to take on something big?
I think it was just kind of thinking like, this is what I want to do. This is going to get me to where I want to go.
Yeah.
And if I don't do it, I'm going to be kicking myself. And also if I don't do it, there's going to be that like mental thing of like,
confidence.
Well, I didn't do it that time. So why would I do it again?
Yeah.
This kind of thing.
We didn't want to drop the contract because we knew it was a good deal. Like, we had underwritten it so much. We knew that, okay, we can probably rent it for $6 a foot, but even if we rent it at $4, it's still going to be a decent cash flow. And just the opportunity. Another thing too is we presented the deal on multiple other podcasts too. And other people we had that were guests were like, dude, that's a great deal. I would do that deal every time. And that kind of gave us the confidence as well.
And the timing too. The 6 to 24 month thing of like, this would help me do a little bit of that. So like, it's like possible a lot faster than I thought.
Yeah. Can we talk about risk real quick?
100%.
Yeah. So what people get risk completely wrong. So a lot of the times, the people that are talking most about risk are people that are in their 20s and 30s with really low expenses for the most part. And my advice to anybody in their 20s or 30s is the biggest risk that you can take is taking no risk.
That's great.
Period.
Yeah.
And so we're in a really interesting point in the economy today in 2025 where risk in 2005 is completely different than risk in 2025. So all of us were raised to have this certain definition of risk, right? Which is you go get a stable corporate job and you work there for 40 years, you move your way up the chain, you become, manager, VP, all this stuff. You go buy yourself a BMW, get yourself a house with a yard, a dog, 2.5 kids. Maybe one of them's an accident, So like, how many kids you want? Two in an accident. Right?
Yeah.
And so that was the American dream before. And so risk was investing. Risk was buying a business or starting a business or buying real estate. Now, I'd actually argue that the inverse is true. To where today I'm seeing people person after person after person get fired from these jobs that they've been at stuck for 10 years that are making $100,000, $300,000 a year. They don't have the side hustle. They don't have the investment. They don't have the commercial real estate to fall back on. Yeah. And now they're screwed. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like employment is literally signing on the dotted line a contract that says, I am going to give you, Mr. Corporation, time away from my friends, my family, myself, my relationship in order for security. That is a job employment contract, is you are signing your life away for security. And the minute that stopped being true and you stopped having that security was the moment that people needed to wake up and realize this relationship that they've had with risk needed to be completely changed. So now it's like I've seen so many people do exactly what you just said. And they're like, okay, this feels scary, but I'm going to go out and make that leap and take a little bit of risk and then, get some portfolio, get some equity, get some cash flow. Yeah. And then when that day came, they were able to make either they were fired and they were able to be good and say, I'm going all into my dream now, or they got to a position where they hated their job so much that they had the option to say, F you. And F you is the most important position that you can be in because a lot of people are working a good enough job, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're not trying to quit tomorrow, but you want the ability to quit. Mm-hmm. Financial freedom isn't flipping your boss the bird. It's having the ability to flip your boss the bird. It's not buying the Ferrari. It's having the ability to buy the Ferrari. That's freedom. Not debt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being in control of your situation.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you did that. There's another thing that's called Pareto's principle, which is not Pareto's principle. It's Parkinson's law. So the amount of work that you have expands. Yeah. The amount of time that you have to complete work expands to fill the time allotted. Right. Yeah. So we give ourselves these goals that are like, I'm going to be financially free in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. But if you just condense that time frame and you say, no, I'm going to be financially free this year, then you completely change everything. Every single goal that you have shifts and all your actions shift, and you'll see that you'll actually pull it off. So because you set the deadline, that's what made things happen.
Yeah.
Deadlines yield decisions.
100%. 100%. Because I'd actually set a goal to myself thinking like, I want to get to like 5K and by the time I'm 30.
And how old were you at the time?
I was about to turn 30.
Yeah.
Literally. Okay. In the deal, if I signed the deal and we found a tenant, it would put me about at that. Mm-hmm. And if we didn't, I would be.
Did you find the tenant?
We
found it. They have 5K?
About, yeah.
Well, look at that.
Yeah.
Dude,
cool.
It's crazy. The fastest way to know that, how do I want to phrase this? Everyone says that I'm not ready, right? And the fastest way to know that you're ready is when you say you're not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because you figure it out. Yeah. Everything in life is figure outable. And if you're doing something that's not figure outable, change. Change the thing. Don't be Elon Musk trying to catch a rocket with chopsticks. Like we're buying residential and commercial real estate. We're buying freaking laundromats and cash flow and small businesses, guys. Like millions of people have done this before. Like
people say the same thing with kids too. Yeah. Like you're never be ready for kids. And it's like,
you're never going to be ready for
yeah,
exactly.
100%.
Cool. So you just rock and roll.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, we obviously know a lot about you, and we'll get into more about your story and kind of what you guys do. But I'm curious because maybe I just haven't heard it on a podcast, but most of your emphasis is on like business and commercial real estate, obviously. Mm-hmm. But like, do you currently have a decent commercial real estate portfolio, and like, what does that make up? Or are you working towards that? Or
so right now, I'm more on the business buying side. That's what I enjoy, and so that's a really interesting question. Actually, is the most valuable asset that everyone has that they don't realize is their attention. It's really important. And so there's two different games that you can play with your attention. You can put your attention towards equity, or you can put your attention towards cash flow, right? And so for me, I played the cash flow game. And so everyone asks, what's the investment choice for me? What's the best asset class? And I say, dip your toe into the water on a lot of different assets. And for me, like, I tried multifamily, I tried storage, I tried to do all this stuff. And then I started doing business, and I was like, I freaking love business, dude. I'm obsessed with business.
Yeah.
And so I started investing in small businesses, and that's my jam. So the commercial side is my partner, Ben, who comes in with like $100 million portfolio. So shout out Ben Call on the podcast. So Ben's big storage guy, triple net lease, multifamily guy. And, at the end of this month, we're going to go fly up to Minnesota and tour his units and take about 50 people around. So I think there's an important point to make here, which is, when you figure out what your strengths are, a lot of people, what we learn in corporate and what we learn in our jobs is to work on your weaknesses and build those up to the level of your strengths, right? Okay. But when you own the business, what you want to do is you want to figure out what you're strong in, 10x that, become world class at it, and hire out and partner with your weaknesses. So that's what we did. Yeah. So our commercial real estate is on Ben's side. So yeah, we have different people that are running each division of that for each asset.
And so you're probably more of an LP in those deals than you are a GP.
Oh no, I'm not in commercial real estate at all.
Oh wow.
Right now. No.
Okay.
But what we are doing, so I can walk you through what our plan is about to be.
Okay.
So what I did was I had residential to begin with, and I sold it all off, because I was like, okay, I want to start these businesses and I want to invest in businesses.
Okay.
So we built the businesses up to where now we have so much cash flow coming in from the businesses and so much profit that now is redistribution season back into commercial.
Okay.
So if I could paint a path for people, it's invest for cash flow first, then you reinvest back into equity. So our goal, my flavor of choice is, there's a few commercial assets that I'm really liking right now to redeploy money into. And to your point, for me, I'll probably more so be on the GP side.
Okay.
You can't just be a capital raiser.
Yeah.
You need to have a little bit more material participation.
Right.
But I'll probably be on the GP side more often. And then, so what I'm looking for right now is we like residential assisted living, in the commercial side of it with the larger properties.
Yeah.
We like triple net lease industrial, and we like hospitality.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to be investing into next.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, multifamily storage, not my jam, man. Hate it. Just not my thing. But my partner, obsessed with it.
Yeah, multifamily is rough.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that too, because I think if you talk to most of the commercial real estate people, they feel that that's the business side of the commercial real estate, so the multifamily and the self-storage, because it is kind of heavy on the business side of that sense. So it's a little interesting you say that.
Well, when I view business and real estate business is completely separate. So I view business as like, I'm taking something, I'm buying it for $1 million. I've got $300,000 of cash flow day one. Like, that's how I'm viewing it.
Okay.
So I'm buying it at multiples of profit.
Okay.
So instead of a cap rate.
Right.
So, but wealth building, so to play devil's advocate, right? So everyone talks about all the good things they're doing, but let's talk about the bad stuff, right? So there's two main things that are wrong with my portfolio today. Number one is I'm not a real estate professional. So everyone talks about, I'm going to go buy all this commercial real estate, right? And I'm going to my taxes are going to be gone. I'm going to cost seg, accelerated bonus depreciate, all my income away. No, sir, you're not. Unless you have material participation and you are a real estate professional, or you are married to a real estate professional. So if there's a Latina out there that wants to become a real estate professional, I've got a wedding ring for you. So either you or your wife or your husband needs to be a real estate professional. And so for me right now, I'm paying 37% in tax. So we're at the cash flow stage, but now it's a pivot back into the equity side.
Okay.
So,
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's a yin and a yang. There's always a shift back and forth.
It makes a lot of sense, because it's something we kind of struggle with. Like, our cash flow side for the most part right now is our brokerage business. So we're trying to sell deals to other people and stuff like that. And there's always that line of like, should we try to be focusing on making more commissions and then deploying that into commercial real estate assets, or should we just buy commercial real estate assets and not bring any money to the table, just buying the deals and be the GP and raise the money and all that stuff? And it's like,
both, I think, is the correct answer. So if we can talk about the journey into commercial real estate in two ways. One for the way of somebody that already has money, and one is the way of somebody that's looking to get into the game and buy their first commercial asset, right? Because we use the same process. We did like $290 million in acquisition across commercial and small business last year in Action Academy. So the method that we have works. So first I'll answer, if you have money, what should you do? So if I was in y'all's position, what I would do is I would have enough like focus, I would say most of your attention on the vehicle of building the brokerage business.
Okay.
Because cash flow is offense and defense here, because it also protects you if the deal goes south, right? Mm-hmm. So then I would focus on that. And then also while you're doing that in the brokerage business, building up the podcast, building up stuff, building up your connections with capital. Yeah. So then you can be the LP and the GP on the deals to where, yes, you're investing $50,000 to $100,000 of your own money, because as the GP, you should always have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
When you're taking capital and you're taking investors. But then also like you just have so many relationships that now you have the cash flow, you have the relationships, you have some skin in the game, and now you're raising the rest of the round. That's what I'd recommend for somebody that's in y'all's position. Now, if somebody's brand new to commercial real estate, $10 million question is, I've got a few houses. I've got one of them a short-term rental, the other one I house hacked. Yeah. It doesn't work anymore. I hear about multifamily. I hear about commercial. I hear about storage. I hear about mobile home. How do I do that, right? Mm-hmm. So what we do is what's called the apprenticeship model. So we have 5 levels of learning, and each level of learning is associated with a different like income level, right? So the first level of learning is passive. So you listen into this podcast, you're reading books, you're watching YouTube videos. The next level is interactive. You're doing an online course, you're doing a 2-day Jake and Gino workshop or something like that.
Internship, something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're just doing like a weekend thing or something that's interactive.
Okay.
Then the next one is immersive. So now you're doing it like an internship, you're joining a community, you've got a coach, something like that. The fourth is apprenticeship, which is, okay, cool, I'm rolling up my sleeves and I'm doing some sweat equity for somebody that knows what the heck they're doing. And then the fifth is just high level access and proximity. So I'd say number 4 is where you want to be for commercial real estate. So if I was brand new, if I had lit my portfolio on fire and I was like, okay, I want to do commercial for my first deal, what I would do is I would go to my local market and I'd find the big swinging freaking stud in my market that's doing that stuff. If it's multifamily, if it's freaking mobile home, we'll say mobile home, I'd find who the biggest guy is or girl, and I'd go to them and I'd say, hey, like, what's your buy box? And like, what way do you need me to go bird dog for you to find these deals? Yeah. And I'd find a way to add value through sweat equity to them. Yeah. You go add value to sweat equity, so you're probably going to find the deals, help them fund the deals. You're probably going to run the deal for them, take about 5-10% equity in the deal as a minority position, as somebody that's adding a lot of sweat equity value. And then you have, for the next deal, you have broker relations, you have partnership relations, you have a KP relations because you can use their balance sheet, and you have relations with all the capital partners they use on the deal. So the next deal, you can more adequately go full cycle yourself.
And for those that don't think that's possible, that's literally what me and Graham did. I was in the military a year and a half ago and jumped out of it to join Graham at City Plat, where they've bought $325 million of real estate in the last 4 or 5 years, something like that. And we bought those 4 buildings that we mentioned, along with the 2 buildings we bought on our own. And we were able to get 10% equity in that deal. And
dude, that's great.
That's awesome.
Doing exactly what you said.
To the equity mark.
Yeah.
So guys, if you're listening to this and you want to run that back, I just called it exactly what you guys did.
Literally.
Boom.
I was at a different brokerage, just doing brokerage, and there was a big hitter, which is called, City Plats. They're pretty big in our market in North Carolina. Reached out to him to go have lunch with him. Went have lunch with him. He's like, hey, do you want to join us? I was like, absolutely. And so that's, you nailed it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Here's what's funny. I'm the quit your job, travel the world guy, right? but people, if they just viewed their job differently, they would become so much richer. Because you can view your job as, I hate being here. I hate doing this. Like, I'm working for the man. Or you can view your job as, I'm getting paid to learn valuable skills. And I'm going to use these valuable skills in my own business. I'm telling you right now, and I'm calling this live for everybody that's watching and listening. If you have any experience in managing and hiring a team, period, you are better qualified than 80% of the small business owners that are out there today. Period. You can go in day one and you can almost out-operate them day one. I promise. If I could go back in corporate, I would have taken the management job just to learn on their dime and get paid to learn, how to manage and lead and run a team. because I had to learn that on my own.
Yeah, no, that's true. When I was in the military, they throw you immediately into a responsibility role where I have to figure out the system and process. And a lot of times there wasn't any in place, and I had to put
In the
them.
military?
Oh
What?
yeah, 100%. In the logistics part of the military, there wasn't any systems and processes, at least for our unit, right? Because my company did something different than my sister company did. As we were focused on ammo, they were focused on food. It was different. It just looked different, right?
Yeah.
So I had to figure it out for our own stuff, and I didn't do a great job of it because I didn't know what I was doing. And just my mentors and stuff and the other like symbiotic leadership roles in the military, they didn't have the experience either. So we were just kind of like saying yes and figuring it out, which is what I've done my whole life. I started a glove business, didn't know anything about gloves or anything like that. And I just went to the people who were doing it and learned as I went. I just said yes the whole way. Now I'm in charge of supply, Fastenal, and all that stuff. So
Dude,
that's my other business.
Yes takes you to the million, no takes you to 10. So yes is what takes you. Say yes to everything. Say yes to every opportunity. Say yes to every lunch. Say yes to every dinner. Say yes to every opportunity to go meet somebody.
Okay.
And then you get all the way up to where you're millionaire. Congratulations, you made it. And now when your calendar is full and you have everybody coming to you now, and you're the center of gravity, then that's when you have to start flexing your no muscle. Because then again, attention is your most valuable asset. So now I have to flex my no muscle and I have to say no to most people because no's become more expensive over time. Well, no, let me rephrase that. A yes becomes more expensive over time.
Okay.
Because in the beginning, if I'm doing nothing and somebody asks me to do something, then that yes is maybe free. Like there's no that I have to tell somebody else to justify that yes. But then when you have kids and you have, a family, then that yes becomes more expensive, right?
True.
Because now you have to get your wife, you have to have your kids, you have to say no to them, you have to leave them to come do something. And then when you start having a business and you start having a lot of people calling for your time, then every single yes is very, very expensive. So it's like for me to be here, I had to say no to I had to leave an event. I had to say no to other people to come here, be here. And you guys had to say no to people to be here as well. Yeah. So people don't view their time like an asset like they should. Yeah. It's the most valuable asset you have.
Yeah. That's your timing's so funny because on Tuesday we have our sales meeting every single week, and one of the guys, very successful, he's one of the leaders of the company, did a presentation literally on exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was very simple. He said, here's a yes and here's a no. And he's talking about how like people just say yes, 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 and they don't realize what are you saying no to if you say yes. That's literally exactly what he said.
Big thing that I'd recommend for people to shift when they're doing their goal setting is write down a list of your goals and then write down the list of things that you're willing to give up in order to hit them.
Yeah. That's great. Something you said that ties in very well with the question I was going to ask is, you said that you say yes, 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 yes to $1 million until you're a millionaire. We're not millionaires yet. Working on it, but we're not there yet. And we have like our brokerage business. We have a podcast. We have a duplex that we do Airbnb, which is kind of a pain in the butt. And then we have our commercial real estate stuff and some other small residential stuff. And it feels like a lot. And I also have 3 kids.
And I have my glove company.
And he's got his glove company.
And the glove company.
That's my kid.
So it's like, we're doing a lot of things, but you think it's best to maybe keep doing that until maybe we hit $1 million or get close to that, and then you start to refining.
Yep. So what you want to do is like in the beginning. So I'll answer that question in a higher level way that was described to me, and then I'll bring it down to earth. So there's this thing in business called Keyman risk. So Keyman risk, you don't want to buy a business with Keyman risk because that means that the business is dependent on the owner. Right. And so everyone is like, oh, I got to get myself out of the business. I got to get myself out of the business because if I'm not out of the business, there's Keyman risk and I have a job. But then one of my mentors is Alex Hormozy. And so, behind closed doors, he's like, hey, man, everyone's got Keyman risk until you're about $10 million a year. Once you're at $10 million a year, doesn't really matter. Like now at that point, you can start focusing on getting rid of Keyman risk. But before, it's like, whatever. So, I mean, right now it's like you guys are just doing what you need to do. And then like, that's just the process of figuring it out. And then you're just going to go keep doing that, continue to do that. And then you figure out what works and you just mash the freaking gas on that thing. And then that's the big thing. It's not shiny object syndrome until your yeses start becoming expensive. Then it becomes shiny object when you're leaving something that's working. So say you scale the glove business up and then it's working and then you say no to go jump to some shiny new thing and then your business tanks. That's shiny object syndrome, right? So if I was you guys, I'd keep mashing the gas until it gets to a point where you're forced to start making decisions. And then at that point, once again, like probably around that $1 million, then you're like, okay, cool. how do we want to reposition the portfolio in order to go where we want to go? That's a word nobody talks about, is repositioning. Repositioning today is the most important thing you can do. I just left a room full of millionaires. Now we're part of the mastermind that I'm a member of. And they're like, hey, I'm repositioning my single family. I'm selling these properties. I'm doing this. I'm going to take all the profits. I'm going to put them into my commercial, my industrial, my freaking RV parks, my mobile home parks. So, I mean, you just prune. And I took the equity from my single family. In the beginning, I thought that was the way. And I repositioned it. I sold them. And then I was able to take that and use that as seed money to like make sure that I had a good effort fund to where I'm like, okay, cool. I'm operating this new business out of a place of security, not scarcity. And then that's what allowed me to build my business up to doing millions and millions of dollars a year now in a way chiller way than I would have. Yeah.
So that's like literally you're just getting ahead of us on these questions, because one of the questions we had is we bought these 2 buildings between 2 of us that generated after we bought them vacant. So obviously commercial real estate's valued on income. We bought them vacant.
So value add?
Yeah, filled them with triple net leases, signed 5-year deals for both of them, and created about $600,000 of equity.
Hot damn.
In those 2. Yeah, just 2 buildings, which was really awesome. Super.
Can't do that in residential.
Cannot do that in residential. We harp on that on the podcast all the time.
So was that 1 tenant?
1 tenant each.
But 2 buildings, so 1 tenant each building.
Okay, so cool. So you generated $600,000 of equity through 2 signed leases.
Correct.
And how much effort is that to generate $600,000 in equity in residential real estate?
A ton.
Ooh, yeah.
A ton.
Yeah.
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 So what I was getting to is with the 600,000 is basically we go back and forth on like, yeah, that generates a decent amount of cash flow at this point now, just from those 2, but because we're in a low basis. But do we, since we're so early in our career, do we sell them, reposition, take the 600 and do something else, like keep rolling? Because that's a question we just.
I mean, right now, so what? So you're making like 60 grand off of 600K in equity?
About, yeah.
So it's a 10% return on equity. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Dude, my advice is until you find something better, keep doing it.
Yeah.
Keep rolling. Because for me, it's a conversation. So it's ROE, return on equity, right? But then there's 2 other ROEs. There's a return on energy and there's a return on effort. No one talks about that. For me, my single family was an ROE, return on energy, return on effort play. So I was like, okay, cool. I can renovate this after a tenant gutted it out and I had to evict her. Then I could renovate it, put it back out, keep cash flowing. But I was like, this isn't worth my time, dude. And so that's when I sold it. But if it's rolling, if it's a triple net lease, that means you guys aren't really doing anything. So I'm like, dude, just keep rolling with it until you have a better asset that comes in, a better opportunity, and then you can make a decision.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's really good.
About for sure. Because we have other deals we're lining up. We're working on capital stack or hard money or however option we're going to take it down. And when you're describing, we're probably getting like a 12-13% on our Airbnb, but it is just a problem after problem after problem. And I'm just like, we looked at, we would do EOS and L10, all that stuff. We were identifying all of our issues. We're trying to solve them. Graham was like, dude, like 80% of our issues are, our duplex. Or like
the residential, one piece residential.
Yeah. So we should probably sell it.
Yeah.
But
based on what you're saying, yeah.
How's the equity on it?
Not amazing. I mean, it's decent for residential property, probably about 100 grand.
So you probably pocket 60.
Something like that.
60, 70 after realtor fees and taxes.
Selling, something like that, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Closer to that. So
I think that was the math we did.
And what'd you put into it?
12 grand.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, either way is kind of inconsequential to you guys.
I mean, it was a little bit more with the
upfit
and stuff, but
renovate. We renovated it.
Small renovation.
Furnished it, so a little more.
So, I mean, we'll
22 grand, 25 grand.
We'll call it 25 grand in each. Yeah. And so, I mean, you're basically pulling your money out, but I mean, the duplex isn't going to really appreciate in the next 5 to 10 years that much. And if it's already a headache, then I mean, you just have to make a cost benefit analysis to like, okay, well, if you're not spending your time on that, where's your time going now? And if a lot of your time is spent on that, I would just say freaking sell the thing, move on. Like, bigger pastures. The big thing that helped me was my mentor was like, is this where you're going to make your wealth? These single families? I was like, no. And he goes, all right, cool. Here's your decision.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah.
Mentors,
something to think about.
Yeah, mentors do a really good job of making it pretty clear cut. When I was getting into Tractor Supply, my mentor was like, have you gotten your 3PL set up yet? I was like, no, I don't Like that wasn't even a question to me. And he was like, you have to set it up. I was like, I'm not doing enough volume. He said, set it up. So I set it up, and I haven't even thought about packing a glove into a box or anything in forever. And it's been so great because it's now allowed me to focus on the things that I need to. You say yes, yes, yes to everything. But when you're, how was this? When you're saying yes to everything, you're also saying no to things, but you're able to say yes to better opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I was now able to focus on growing the business instead of just running the business.
Working on the business versus working in the business.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I realized when I got into Tractor Supply, I mean, it was a great opportunity, right? It helped, SEO and all that stuff, right? But what's really blown me up over the last 6 months is being able to focus on business relationships. I'm going to the companies, and they're honestly coming to me, like aerospace companies. We're talking about big companies that are coming to me directly and say, hey, we want you to custom design a glove for us. And for me right now, it's great because the customer is saying, hey, our glove got discontinued. We need something. We're literally no touch right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Like they can't even do their job.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the process of designing something that's going to help them get to the next level, which is something I really liked. You talked about lean startup in a few of your different podcasts.
Yeah, I love it.
And you're just a poster child for that, honestly, because it made it so simple. Let me go interview 100 people, figure out what people's problems are.
Nobody listens to me, man.
Yeah.
Nobody listens. I got people in my freaking community that are in commercial real estate that they're like, I want to start a coaching company. I want to start a community. I want to start an online education. You want to start any company, dude, just go freaking. I'm like, you want to start something. Yeah. I'm like, you haven't proved that you can do it. Mm-hmm. Just go help people for free. It's the easiest offer that you could do. Yeah. Is just say, hey, man, I'll help you for free. Yeah. So like I would say before anybody coaches anyone on anything, help 100 people for free and document, hey, bud, did you get any value from that? If so, awesome. They're going to pay you anyways for more. And if they didn't, then good. You suck. That's where the work begins.
Yeah.
Most people kind of suck.
Yeah.
That's okay. Get better.
100%.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny. They're like, I want to charge people for dude, to the degree of the biggest bottleneck I have in my business today is we're too good at our end result. So our result is like me growing the business today, Action Academy was like, okay, cool. You're a high performer in corporate America. We're going to help you quit your job through commercial real estate and business buying. And then everyone's doing it now. Yeah. And they're like, now what? I'm like, shit.
I didn't think it was going to work that fast.
I'm like, okay. Well, and so even to the point of me now where I'm like, okay, cool. Now, how do I scale you to 10 million? Right now, I'm like, even to that point, I'm like, okay, first let me do it. Let me document it. Yeah. Let me duplicate it. Make sure other people are doing it. And then I'm still going to help people that are already paying me money for free. I'm going to say, hey, you guys come up to this level. Don't charge anything else. Let me prove out that this works for you guys. Let me get you implemented with my system, see how it works. Then you take that back down to the market and you're like, okay, cool. Now here's how you do it. And now you've got case studies for free.
And that's what you're working on right now? Kind of going to that next level? Or
it's a bear, dude. It's a lot.
I'd imagine.
Yeah. So my attention only goes towards that. So, I mean, to answer your question again about like commercial real estate, I get offers to do deals every single week. And I have to say no to them because not about the financials, but just because of my return on attention.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I would say the biggest macro meta skill that you can develop, let me rephrase that. The biggest macro meta skill that you can develop as an entrepreneur is what you should focus on. Yeah. Like, where should my attention go? If you can just answer that one question correctly, you are going to be a hundred millionaire, centimillionaire, billionaire. If you can always just answer the question correctly of where should I put my attention? And that means in what industry you're pursuing, in what career you're pursuing, in what relationship you're pursuing. And then when you do have that relationship, you do have that career, you do have that industry, you do have that business, then what constraint are you focusing on? Because the business is not the absence of problems. People need to get over this shit. Yeah. Financial freedom is not problems disappearing. Financial freedom is congratulations. Now you have resources to solve bigger problems. Yeah. Business is the process of solving big problems. And my favorite quote is from Dan Martell, where he goes, he doesn't call them problems, he calls them puzzles. Because a puzzle is something that you solve.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A problem is something that you have this negative connotation to, but a puzzle is something where you're like, okay, this is what I signed up for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because if you guys want to make millions and millions of dollars, you got to solve $1 million problems.
Yep.
Yeah.
So everybody wants the $1 million income. Nobody wants the $1 million problem, which is why it's so easy to win.
That's true. So talking about, answering the question of where should you focus, what should your attention be on? Going back to what our kind of audience is, which is either people who want to transition from residential to commercial or just start in commercial real estate. You talk about businesses and you talk about commercial real estate, and you talked about, you think people a lot of times should focus on the cash flow in the beginning, which might be businesses. So tell us or talk to, our audience of where they should be focusing on in the beginning. Where should they start?
What they want.
I guess just...
Oh, no. I mean, that's the answer.
Oh.
Yeah, the answer to your question is, where should everyone focus? And the answer is on what the hell you want. Because nobody's answering that. Guarantee it. So clarity works in 3 different paths. So you have directional, you have sequential, you have tactical. Everyone goes to tactical first, which is, how do I do something, right? But then they never go into how fast do I want to do something and why do I want to do something? Like, where am I going with doing the thing, right? So what you do is, instead of going tactical, sequential, directional, you start directional, sequential, tactical. That is the path. And so if you're crystal clear about where you're going and you're crystal clear about how fast you want to get there, then all of a sudden you have the ability to say no to things. And that's where your no muscle starts getting stronger, right? Because you have clarity on why you should say no, because strategy is what you say no to, not what you say yes to. Period. So to answer your question, it completely depends on what their goals are. So let's go back to their directional and their sequential clarity. If somebody's working a job, they're making $100,000, $200,000 a year, and maybe they're making $80,000 a year. They got some pocket change and they're like, I like this real estate thing. I like my job, but I'm willing to put the energy and effort and time into building up this portfolio because I want some equity, I want some net worth, I want some security, right? And skills. And they're like, 2 to 5 years, I'm good with it taking that long to leave my job. I'll keep working. I just want to do this on the side. Dude, commercial all day, baby. Yeah. You're going to have some great equity. You're going to have great momentum. You're going to have great relationships. And at that 2 to 5 year mark, you're really hitting your stride. But there's just that 2-year rocky cutscene that you cannot avoid. I just went through it in business, dude. It's like, now I'm like looking back at it and I'm just like, God dang, how did I do that? Right? So that's for the person that knows where they're going and they want that financial freedom. They want it within 2 to 5 years, right? If you want that financial freedom within a year, real hard to do with any commercial real estate.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to go business. Yeah. There's 2 different paths that we say you either need to flip some dirt, you need to do land flipping, which for some reason is just God's gift to freaking cash flow, dude. Like, not cash flow, but profit. Yeah. It's active income, but god dang, dude, our guys are freaking slinging some dirt.
I've heard people talking about that.
It's lately. Crazy,
weird.
dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy because like you had wholesaling houses and flipping houses, and now it's like so much easier and better than that. Well, I won't say easier, but simpler, because nothing worthwhile is easy, right? Mm-hmm. So, but if you're wanting to leave your job and hit financial freedom within a year, then you need to buy a small business, period. But so, I mean, it just depends. So if you're doing that, like then you can start formulating your plan. But a lot of people, like, they kind of like their job.
Yeah.
So I'd say, okay, cool. Now they're like, okay, well, which asset do I pick? And I'm like, okay, well, go find each one of them. So, I mean, there's like about, 5 to 10 of them that are the predominant asset classes. You got multifamily, which I wouldn't do in this market today. Just straight up in 2025, it's not my jam. It's just real tough. It's a toughie to get into right now. Then you have industrial. I love industrial. Then you've got storage. I like storage. I think it's a little bit overbuilt. And people are going to, as we're going into this recession, I don't think people are going to hoard as much stuff. So I like storage, don't love storage. But then you got hospitality, which is like boutique hotels, stuff like that. I like hospitality. Hospitality is super cool. And then you've got like distribution centers, stuff like that, strip malls. But I mean, I just put them all kind of under triple net lease triple net lease.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair assumption.
Yeah. But just go call people in each one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just walk some properties, help them gut some, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah. And I think too, like, you'll identify multifamily is just not my jam. If you don't love it, you don't do it. If it's not something that even interests you, then I wouldn't even jump in it. And then there's a lot of people that they just tell they can't decide and they won't jump into anything, and then they don't learn anything.
You know how I knew multifamily wasn't my jam?
How's that?
I met somebody that multifamily was their jam.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's so stupid simple.
Yeah.
And then, so I was helping an investor gut out a property. He had a 27 unit in South Atlanta.
Okay.
I was helping him gut it. And I walked into the unit and I was like, dude, this looks awful.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh man, what are you talking about? Like, this is freaking money. I'm going to take this. I'm going to put freaking eggshell white on here. I'm going to put freaking waterfall quartz on the countertops. And I go, this isn't for me.
Well, you lost me at South Atlanta.
Yeah. But seriously, I was like, I could see it. I was like, oh, that's what that looks like.
Right.
Yeah. And then as soon as I picked up a podcast mic, I was like, oh my God, like I can just talk to rich people for free and they want to talk to me.
Yeah.
And as soon as I bought my first bit, I was like, dude, I can just materially come in here and impact cash flow like so quick. For me, it's hard to invest in real estate because I buy businesses. It's hard because I have to go back and convince myself that an 8 to 10% preferred return is good.
Yeah, that's true.
In business, it's like, dude, if I'm not making a freaking 20 to 50% cash on cash, like that's a base hit.
Yeah. That's
So,
kind of a good
so
point.
for people listening, because I'm in the camp of I haven't really ever thought about that or explored that. Because I've been in commercial brokerage for almost 7 years now, and I've seen that game. I've been around the people. I really enjoy it. I love it. I think it's my jam for sure. He's more of a business guy. He has his glove stuff going on.
But 25 to 30% is like my wholesale profit number, like percent. Like, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess what I was asking is like for our audience who's listening who maybe wants to consider that, the business side, what businesses are you recommending people buy if they do want to quit their job in the first year?
Yeah, so I'd say service businesses, something that is boring, something that is going to be hard for AI to take out, but also something that's not hyper technical. So for me, I'm not buying plumbing, I'm not buying HVAC, anything that requires electricians, not anything that requires this master license, but something that's boring, something that's profitable, something that's just succeeding in spite of itself. I need to come up with some acronym for that or something. But no, seriously, like I bought a company for I've invested for it's worth, let me see, doing the math in my head. Because we're buying two of them actually. So with the two of them combined, it'll be a $1.6 million valuation. So I'm investing probably about $250,000 into this deal. And they clean kitchen hoods. So you go into a commercial kitchen and they've got like the grease fryer and stuff. Yeah. So they've got the vent that you need that sucks up all the grease.
Those things are expensive too.
Yeah, those things are expensive. Somebody needs to clean them through OSHA, like by law. My company cleans them.
Wow.
It's such a stupid, simple, boring business. If you can't put it on the back of a napkin, I'm not buying it. And so I'm like, okay, cool. We got 3 reps, 3 techs that are out there doing it. We do it better than everyone else. We're priced higher than anyone in the market. Let's buy that company. I'm like, and they're not even doing any marketing. They're doing $1 million a year just from word of mouth.
Wow.
Yeah. Dude, those businesses exist everywhere. And everyone's like, well, why would somebody sell a business that's profitable? My brother and sister in Christ, may I introduce you to the idea of retirement? It's insane. People think that people don't want to retire. Like, it's not because they've got all this distress for the most part. Like real estate is normally death, divorce, distress.
Right.
It's where you have a property.
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
But, in commercial and in business, a lot of the times, especially with the stuff that y'all are buying, triple net, it's just going to be an old grizzled guy that's just, or old grizzled widow that's just like, my husband died and, I don't know what to do with this. And we've kind of been holding on to it, but I'm kind of sick of it. Same thing with businesses. They're like, dude, my freaking kids want to go dance on TikTok. Like they don't want to take over my upholstery business that does $2 million a year. So that's the biggest wealth transfer that's coming.
Yeah.
But I mean, to that point though, I think that it's not an either or, it's a both and. But it's just in what order, right? So I think like in my world, like my wealth building is going to be through commercial real estate. But my like cash flow and my initial like business revenue is through private equity. I freaking love this stuff. But so business cash flow gets you rich, real estate keeps you rich.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
What about a guy like me who's got a startup and I'm doing commercial real estate? Is it too distracted or do you think I can do it?
Tell me. Is it?
I think I can do it if I build the systems right.
Okay. So what systems do you need to build?
I need to, well, I mean, my 3PL team, they honestly kind of handle everything as far as pick, pack, ship, customer service. So the only thing I
80%
need
of the
is
stuff?
that's kind of the back end of the company. The front end of the company is sales and marketing.
Mm.
I'm just talking to, I only have like 10 or 15 big customers. The rest is all, just random people, right, buying my glove. And it's pretty easy to maintain. I hand it on an Excel sheet and I call them bi-weekly. Hey, do you need anything? And most of the time they don't.
Yeah. Well, to answer your question too about like what business should people buy, so I call them top line CEOs and bottom line CEOs. You want to buy a business that is the opposite of your strength. So if are you more operations or more sales?
Sales.
So, okay, cool. So you bought a business that the 3PL is taking over the operations.
Oh, no, I designed this from the scratch.
Correct. And now you are doing sales and marketing, and that's how you add value to the business.
Yes.
So that's what you want to do. So if you're really good at sales and marketing, so let me like back it all the way up for people to like have a clear like linear path here. If you were looking to buy your first business and you're asking the question, which type of business should I buy? If you're really good at sales and marketing, you are not buying a business that's really good at sales and marketing. You are buying a business that's really good at operations and systems, that is succeeding in spite of itself. That's maybe like a mom and pop shop that's word of mouth. They're still doing $1 million a year. And you're like, Kathy, how the hell are you guys doing this? They're like, I don't know. The community just loves us. We do good work.
Yeah.
And you're like, can I introduce you to Facebook ads and cold calling people? That's where you come in and you double the freaking business overnight.
Okay.
The inverse of that is if you come in as a sales and marketing person and you got to fix the back end ops of something that's already like real, like ripping in sales and marketing, that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So if you're a systems and ops person and you're like an engineer or data accountant or something like that, and you're like, dude, I don't want to talk to people, you go buy something that's got crazy good sales and marketing and they've got a whole sales team, Facebook ads figured out. You fix their back end systems and ops. That's what you do. So I call it top line, bottom line CEO. I'm a top line CEO. So I'm not buying anything that is like, I buy stuff that needs help with that's strong in operations and I can come help with sales and marketing.
Gotcha.
I feel like I would fall more into that camp as well. That makes sense. Kind of what you're talking about is one of my favorite books, which I'm guarantee you read it, but 10X is easier than 2X. It's like
I'm interviewing him in a month.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Ben?
That is awesome.
That's going to be cool.
Basically, you're talking about focusing on what your unique ability is,
right?
Which is the 20% that's going to move the needle for the company, and the 80% is already taken care of, kind of thing.
Let's talk about that real quick. 10X is easier than 2X. Why? I can answer why. So I haven't even read the book, ironically, but I could probably give it the answer. So I give my answer at least. And so my answer is that if you want a big old mentor that is just a freaking pro at what they do, that's world class, you have to be pursuing world class goals and world class problems.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that mentor is going to be super bored working on your stuff. So the first thing within your control is if you're not doing anything, if you ain't got crap, you don't got a freaking door to your portfolio or 2 nickels to rub together, you better have a freaking vision for where you're going that's massive. Because then somebody that is at that level where your vision is their Tuesday, they're going to be like, oh, I recognize that vision. That was my vision. I pulled it off. I'm going to help you. So an example of this in contrast is I used to be like, I'm going to buy a house a year, man. For some reason, no millionaires wanted to help me because they were super bored by that.
Yeah.
But now my goal is like, I have to make my goals bigger for the level of person to come and help me. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to help 1 million people quit their jobs and build their own companies by the time I'm 40. So 10 years, 1 million people. That's a big old goal. Yeah. So I'm going to create over 1 million businesses. So that's like super sick about the economic impact that's going to have. And so that attracts these mentors into my life where now they come to me. I'm like a freaking magnet. And these billionaires come and they're like, oh, dude, I love this. Like, let me get on board with this. Let me help you.
That's so cool. That's going kind of back to the vivid vision. You have to create something big enough that people want to hop on board and join you in the journey.
Everything comes back. Ben's best book is really like Dan Sullivan stuff. Like Dan Sullivan's strategic coach is a genius. But he doesn't want to do any interviews or do anything. So Ben's the one that writes the books and stuff. Who Not How.
Yeah, I'm literally in the middle of that book right now.
Who Not How is God's gift to entrepreneurship. Who Not How. Every single time that we have a how, here's an example of this in the real world. So one of my goals, one of my main things I focus on is getting on podcasts. So I was like, I got to get on podcasts because I know this is how I can provide the most value to the most people at scale. And I'm really good at it. I hope if people are still listening, right? 5-star rating and review to their podcast. And so for me, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to Scottsdale in 2 weeks. Like, how do I book out my entire calendar to go to Scottsdale in 2 weeks? And I have every single day I'm doing podcast. And I was like, dude, I don't know how to do this. I was like, wait, but who does?
Yeah.
I texted two people, and they got me fully booked out. I'm on 8 podcasts that week, guesting on 8 podcasts, and I'm hosting like another four or 5, and each one of them is with like somebody that's worth $50 million.
That's awesome.
2 people.
That's incredible.
When I went down to Tulum and we rented out like 24 mansion villas for our Action Academy event.
Yeah.
That was through one connection.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
I got to get that mindset shift for sure.
Yeah. It's always who. And the higher that you get up in business, the less it's how, the more it's who. So it's going to be who with like who you're getting into the room with to mentor you, and then it gets into who's coming into your company. Mm-hmm. So the way that this is like too much, I'll bring it back down immediately, I promise. But so it's just top of mind for me. And people want to make millions and millions of dollars that are listening to this. So in the beginning, it's like you bootstrap your way up to a few $1 million a year. Like that's just product market fit in your company. But then the way you get from like 5 million to so 1 million to 3 million is you yourself. 3 to 5 is now you've got a team running like something like EOS where each person knows what they're doing. And then 5 to 10 is you go find the other people that have already been to 10 and you bring them down to you. Mm-hmm. Then they build out stuff and they build out systems and processes and they tell you stuff that you don't know. Same thing applies to commercial, dude. Like there's always a bigger fish. So if the issue is a lot of people get real comfortable being the big fish. Dangerous place to be is a big fish in a little pond because you're going to run out of room real fast. So you got to continuously pond hop and you have to always be the smallest fish. And if you're always the smallest fish, it's real easy to stay humble. Mm-hmm. All these guys that are cocky, like it's because they're the big fish. Yeah. Dude, because I mean,
they get caught
it's
up.
hard.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like if you're making, even people that are listening to this are making $100,000, none of their friends make $100,000. Then they feel bad about talking about them making $100,000, and so they'll subconsciously try to sabotage themselves to come all the way back down, just kind of like be with the sum of the 5 people they spend the most time with. But if you're the only one that's not making $1 million out of that 5 people, you're gonna figure out how to make $1 million.
Yeah.
Period.
100%. It couldn't be truer. That's kind of like, we joined City Plat and it's a great company and they're all extremely successful. And it's like, we're the little fish. And like, that's kind of what we want to be. We want to learn as much as humanly possible.
I think y'all are doing it perfect, man. If I could go back, like I would have done that. I would have joined something like that. For me being the quit your job guy, I don't like corporate. Doesn't mean I didn't like my job.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from my job, dude. I had really great managers. My first manager was named Jeff, and he just like really, like I was like, that's what management looks like. And I learned to sell a freaking ice to an Eskimo, dude. I could sell to anybody. Like, and I've just been I door knocked for 5 years. I did what I had to do and built my skill sets up, and then they transfer. So when here's a good piece of advice for people that are, maybe they have imposter syndrome and they're going into a brand new room and they don't know how they're going to position themselves or posture themselves. One piece of advice I'd give them is, first off, that's your ego talking. Get out of your head. Stop trying to be the most interesting person in the room. Be the most interested person in the room. If you're the little fish, everyone's going to love you because you're not trying to make it about you. Everyone's going to love you because you're just asking them about them, right? Hosting a podcast helps you build those skills.
Yeah.
And then the second thing truly is to just really, as you're going through the process of life, like you just got to figure out like where you're going, what you want, and just realize that it's so much closer than you anticipate. Mm-hmm. And that the people that are where you want to be, like they're not smarter than you, they're not better than you. Maybe 5-10% of the time they are. Like I met a guy that's in commercial construction and he's just smarter than me. I was like, dude, you've got it. Yeah. I'm just going to partner with you. He's my who now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But most people, you're just like, huh, you're worth $50 million? And once you start getting around them, then you're like, I could do that,
That's awesome. No, that's such a good point.
Yeah. So basically, to kind of bring it all back, if your goal is to get to 500K cash flow, which is our goal to get to 500K cash flow,
why?
It's because it's going to get to 20K enough. That's
20K
each. Sorry, 20K each, roughly. It's like 480 if you're technical, but yeah. So we'll say 480, right? it gives us each 20K so that we can, because I think really the reason for it is we live in this cycle in brokerage, and we have like cash and then we don't, and we want something
Feast or
consistent.
famine.
Yeah, feast or famine for sure. Right.
Want some consistency.
And we want to, provide for. He's got a wife and 3 kids. That's my goal. And
provide for his wife and 3 kids.
Right, exactly. To have my own wife and 3 kids.
Yeah.
And just live more comfortably, I guess is the word, so that we can travel and do things. That's kind of like what we want to get to.
For me, it's like I know
it's like coming off like super like, yeah, I can't believe I want to do this. Like,
no, I think you haven't taken the time to actually like write down what you want.
So it's funny you say that, because we've been working on our the EOS.
The VTO.
The
one
goals. So like we come in like literally a couple of days ago, we were like, if we want to make 20K a month, or 20K a month each, we were talking to another guy at a commercial real estate conference. And he was like, well, I haven't hit 20K a month yet. Like, and we were basically trying to see how realistic it is to get to that number, like in what period of time.
Yeah.
And
it's a good question to ask. And another question that I would say is real important to ask is, why does it got to be passive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the day that I switched my goal from 20K pure passive income to 20K cash flow is when I hit everything for me. Mm-hmm. So it's just like for you guys, I'd say, yeah, focus on that. But to his point, that's a lot of invested equity to yield that cash flow. So I don't know the actual, like, I can't do the math off the back of my head right now, but like, dude, it's probably over $20 million invested to have of equity to have $20,000 in cash flow. So what I always say is you just need to get crystal clear of like, what are you going to do with the 20K cash flow? Because I just asked you, I mean, you got an idea, right? You're like, I want to provide for my family, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I want to do this. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I would invite you to write down why, and like what's happening when you do it. Like, what are you doing to celebrate? Write that down.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
Dude, everybody talks about rainy day funds, but nobody talks about a sunny day fund. I call it a fuck it fund. Like, seriously, you should have a percentage of your income that is dedicated to fun and ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Period. Dude, I don't care what level you're at. I don't care if it's going to freaking Ruby Tuesdays, dude. Like, you need to have a percentage of your income, because the issue with commercial real estate folks and business folks and entrepreneurs and real estate investors is delayed gratification.
Yeah.
I'm going to delay my gratification. One day I'm going to make that $20,000. And I know a bunch of people that made $20,000 a month. They're like, all right, I can't wait to make $50,000 a month. Then it's $100,000 a month. Yeah. And then it's $1 million a month. Like, my goal in 2027 is $1 million a month. That's what we're going for in 2027. So that's going to be 2 years. So it's like, why? And the issue is that nobody takes time to celebrate. Yeah. So if instead of viewing it like each celebration point, I'm just like, why don't you just put aside, if it's 5% of your income, and just have that in your fund, and then that's just your fund, and you're enjoying the ride along the way, and you're celebrating the little journeys, dude. I'd do that. I'd celebrate my ass off. It's fun. But yeah, I think you guys need to dial in a little bit more about like why you're doing it, because you're going to hit it faster than you think. And then for what? And then what?
No, it's a good point. For me, it's mostly like, it's enough money to provide for my family, and then also invest, and then also do things that I want to do, which is just like, obviously I the good thing about, I'm extremely thankful and blessed, because honestly love what I do. Absolutely love it. Love brokerage.
That's a
I love
cheat
investing.
code.
Yeah. All this stuff, the podcast, investing, everything. I love it. It's more about just like the stability of the income instead of the brokerage being so cyclical. That's kind of like the peace of mind for my family.
Peace of mind.
That's kind of what it is for me. So it's like, that's more than enough to pay my bills, invest some more, put away some to buy more commercial real estate deals, and then also do stuff like, take them to places like Hawaii and stuff like that. Yeah. We love traveling. We haven't done a lot yet with our 3 little kids, my wife and I have. So
yeah.
Or just like, hey kids, y'all want to go to the beach today, and just to be able to, like, it's the time freedom, right? It's location freedom too, but it's more time freedom, I think, for both of us too.
So that's a whole different game.
Yeah, 100%.
Everyone talks about financial freedom. No one talks about time freedom, because you can get the financial freedom that you so desire, but if you're not putting intentional systems in place, you ain't going to have that time freedom. Yeah. Because that's where my sweet spot is, dude. I go around people that are worth 100 times more than I am. Yeah. Dude, I'm worth like 2-3 million. I'm not worth that much. These guys I'm around are worth 200-300 million. they can't go off on a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I can.
Yeah.
And so let me share a story really quickly, and then we'll bring it back on track. So this is really important. So I was in Norway, and I was sitting on this bench, and it was sunset. And I sat on this freaking bench, and I watched the sunset in Norway for an hour and a half. Just no phone, just sitting there and just absolutely vibing. And I thought to myself, I established enough financial freedom to sit here on this bench. And I'm really working hard to grow my business up to the next level. And one day, I'm going to grow my company up to where I have dozens of people, hundreds of people working for me, maybe thousands of people working for me. We're going to be doing millions of dollars a year. And at that point, I'm going to hire managers and VPs, and they're going to do all the stuff. And they're going to take care of all of the management and leadership. And they're going to grow the company for me without me doing anything, to which I can come all the way back and I can sit on this bench and watch a sunset in Norway, which is what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
So it's a good reminder to say, this 50-year journey that I'm about to go on, let's not forget that the whole point is just to be where you're at right now.
Yeah, 100%.
It's crazy. It's like
I
the
agree.
Mexican fisherman.
Yep.
Y'all heard that story?
I was gonna say that. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly the
Yeah.
same story.
I won't go into it that long, but Mexican fisherman, businessman from America goes, "Hey, what do you enjoy doing?" He goes, "I love eating, sleeping, dancing with my wife, Maria." And he goes, "Well, I could, bring all these boats and 10x your business and you can become rich." He goes, "Okay, why?" He goes, "Oh, so then you can have financial freedom." And then he goes, "Okay, well, what would I do with it?" And he goes, "You would do whatever you want." He goes, "Okay, so I'd eat, sleep, and dance with my wife, Maria."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So why do it?
Yeah. No, it's such a great point just to remember, one, if you're, like I said, just be thankful for where you're at.
Yeah.
Be thankful for where you're at.
Be thankful for the hardest struggle in entrepreneurship and in life is being present and grateful for where you're at today while also striving and pushing for what's tomorrow.
100%.
It is the hardest thing that you're going to battle with for the remainder of your life. It's something that I work on, because if you're too present and you're too in the zone and you're too zen, that's why I don't go do ayahuasca in the jungle, dude. I don't want to come back and be like, you know what? This is okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to chill.
Yeah.
That's my fear, right? I've got friends that's happened to. But on the flip side, you don't want to always be like, oh my God, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Because I promise you, the money changes and you don't view it the same.
Mm-hmm.
Because now for me, $10,000 is I don't view it as anything. $100,000 I still view as something substantial. But now I've put $100,000 on a credit card for something before. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's it was able to pay it in cash.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Jeez. Yeah.
So it's just there's people that can do that with millions. And so I used to, sorry, I'm rambling here. I'll stop here real quick. But I mean, I used to view people that had the nice watches and stuff. I'm like, why are you wasting your money? But I stopped viewing it like that. I'm like, how can I make so much money to where I could buy that watch and it's really inconsequential?
Yeah.
Now, to that point, I'm not a materialistic person. I would much rather spend my money on experiences. That's just my jam.
Right.
But it's a cool reframe. For instead of me making fun and mocking these people that have a $200,000 watch, I'm like, how can I make my business so large that a $200,000 watch is an inconsequential purchase?
Yeah, that's kind of how I am.
Reframe.
I'm more of a car guy. I mean, I love watches too, but I want a Lamborghini. That's what I've wanted since I was a kid.
Dude, yeah.
So I'm kind of doing it for, little Jesse. So
yeah,
that's just kind of that aspect for me too.
Dude, I just rented out. So all my friends in Scottsdale got Ferraris and Lamborghinis because I hang out with entrepreneurs now.
Yeah.
And so when I'm going to Scottsdale in 2 weeks for the first time, I'm renting out a Ferrari for a week.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's a Ferrari, it's a freaking Spider, dude. It's white with red interior, and I'm going to go do it just to see, how do I like this?
Right.
Because people should test.
Mm-hmm.
Go, if you think travel's your thing, go test it out. If you think the car's your thing, don't buy it. Go rent it for a week or go rent it for a month.
Yeah.
Pay the money because that's going to save you.
Yeah.
In the long run. Do you really want that boat?
Yeah.
Or do you want a friend that has the boat?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
They say the best days of owning a boat is the first day and the day you sell it.
Yeah, the day you buy and the day you sell.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any kind of last questions or anything?
You want to do the rapid fire? We can edit this part out, but
sure.
I wanted to do a rapid fire. I thought it'd be a cool clip thing
On it.
So
Damn, how Yeah, okay. So, yeah, we're cool. We're right at that hour. Sweet.
Yeah.
Good timing.
What's one hill you'll die on no matter what? It could be anything. It doesn't have to be business.
All right. One hill I'll die on no matter what. The point of winning the game is to be free of playing it. That's the one hill I'll die on. Is the point of investing, the point of real estate, the point of entrepreneurship of business is to make all of this money and become rich so you can realize that none of it ever mattered. And you're just a giant meat puppet walking around a floating, spinning rock in an infinite universe. So let's get everyone rich first so they can understand it's not the answer to happiness.
Yeah, I agree with. Most overused word in entrepreneurship.
Passive income.
Ooh.
I knew he was going to say that.
Yep. You should have made a bet with me for this. Biggest waste of money in your 20s.
Saving it.
I like that. Yeah.
Let me. I want to clarify on that real quick.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So your 20s, like, so they have this phrase where it's like you learn in your 20s, you earn in your 30s, right?
Oh yeah. Kevin Lear, I think.
Yeah. And so like 30s are where you're really dangerous. Advice I would give to anybody in their 20s, because I'm 30, so I just got out of my 20s, and I lived my late 20s like I think the freaking poster child for what most people would live their 20s, which is I literally quit my job, traveled full time around the world, did what I want when I wanted with who I wanted, built up a freaking company, made millions of dollars. That is freaking sick, dude. I fell in love, I fell out of love, I've experienced all of life besides kids. Didn't have kids yet, but that's in my 30s. And the one thing that I'm glad I did is I built skills, and I was not afraid to spend some freaking money, dude, and go do some stuff. That was freaking fun, because I didn't want to be on my deathbed saying, man, I wish when I was young and I could go backpack Europe and go on the Youre and do all that stuff. A guy worth $100 million, my first mentor before I went and traveled, he goes, you're not going to be able to enjoy that stuff at a certain point. Go do it right now while it's fun. And while staying in a hostel for $4 a night is super fun. Yeah. And like bunking with 6 people, 6 strangers that you don't know. Me, dude, I'm not going anywhere if I'm not staying in a Ritz. Like, and that's even today. And so it just changes. So go do it while it's fun.
Okay.
So yeah, saving it is the biggest thing I'd say don't do.
I like that. And the last one I had was, what's one thing you wish you sucked at less? So what's one thing you wish you were better at?
Wait a second.
What's one thing you wish you were better at?
It's one thing I wish I was better at.
Yeah.
One thing I wish I was better at. Gratitude. Yeah. I wish it came easier to me.
Yeah. I think that's everybody.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are like that. I mean, humility is more of a learned trait, I would say.
Yeah.
Than it is an innate trait. But that's good. That's good.
Yeah, humility, gratitude, muscles that you need to work on for the rest of your life.
I agree.
100%.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
This was so good.
Yeah, for sure.
Seriously, appreciate the time. Appreciate the studio.
Appreciate it. I think we only said the word cap rate twice.
Yeah.
First real estate. But I mean, seriously, if I had one thing to tell the people, and like one thing that I wish people took away is just like, let's get you rich truly so you can understand that it's not the path to your happiness. Like rich won't make you happy. Rich will give you it'll open up the door to asking the questions and having the conversations that we're having today. That'll lead you a lot quicker to happiness.
Yeah. And it comes back to what you're talking about, which is like, why are you doing it in the first place anyways?
Yeah. And in closing, my closing statement here is, if you are a good person listening to this and watching this, you have a moral obligation to become stinking rich, because the bad people are going to become rich regardless through lying, cheating, stealing, and fraud. And so no matter if you're a good person, you're trying to be holy and you're trying to be humble and you're trying to dim your light, the bad person's going to freaking stab people to become a multi-millionaire. So if they're already doing it regardless, it's your job to match them. Because if you're a good person, it just accentuates who you already are, and you're going to give it all away, help a lot more people. So if you're a good person, you owe it to the world to have a bunch of kids and go have a bunch of riches.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, man. Where can people find out about you? And then also, if you want to plug, your awesome community.
Yeah.
Feel free to do it.
Action Academy podcast. I talk to a mic every day. for 3 years. All the rich people are most impressed with that. They're like, "Oh my God, you did that!" I'm like, "You are a billionaire," and they can't even get over the fact that I podcast every day. Action Academy podcast. We interview people between normally $5-50 million. We talk about small business, commercial real estate. Yeah. I've had almost every single person that is big in the commercial real estate space on my podcast. It's a good time. Go listen to me. Leave this show a 5-star rating and review. And Instagram is just my name.
Awesome. Yeah. Brian Luebben. Cool.
Yeah. That's me.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it. It's been an awesome episode. Hope you took a bunch of value away. Bunch of value. So we'll see you in the next one.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.